Chapter 1. The Chill of Exclusion. The crisp winter air bit at my cheeks as I walked, pulling my worn coat tighter around me. It was Christmas Eve, and the festive cheer that permeated the suburban streets felt like a cruel mockery of the emptiness in my own heart. Every house glowed with warm, inviting lights, their windows displaying decorated trees and the silhouettes of laughing families. My own steps felt heavy, each one a conscious effort against the growing dread in my stomach. For weeks, I had clung to the hope that this Christmas would be different. After years of subtle slights and unspoken tensions, I truly believed my family, especially my sister Jessica, would finally extend a genuine olive branch. Our grandmother, the matriarch who had always been the glue holding us together, had passed away earlier in the year. Her absence was a gaping wound, and I'd hoped it would soften hearts, remind us of what truly mattered. But as I approached Jessica's brightly lit home, where the annual family gathering was in full swing, a familiar knot of anxiety tightened in my chest. I could hear the muffled sounds of laughter and holiday music even before I reached the front door. Taking a deep breath, I knocked. The door swung open almost immediately, revealing my cousin, Mark, his face initially beaming with holiday spirit. His smile faltered as he saw me, replaced by a flicker of awkwardness. "Sarah? Oh, hey," he mumbled, glancing nervously over his shoulder into the bustling living room. Before I could respond, Jessica appeared behind him, her eyes narrowing as they landed on me. Her perfectly styled hair and festive sweater seemed to mock my simple, slightly faded attire. "Sarah, what are you doing here?" Her voice was sharp, cutting through the festive background noise. My heart sank. "It's Christmas Eve, Jessica. I thought I was invited." She let out a short, dismissive laugh, a sound that pierced me more deeply than any harsh word. "Invited? Sarah, we're having a family Christmas. You know how things are, after everything." She trailed off, but the implication hung heavy in the air. After the years of perceived slights, the arguments, the unspoken resentments that had festered between us, especially since Grandma's passing. My aunt and uncle, drawn by the commotion, appeared in the hallway. Their expressions mirrored Jessica's, a mix of discomfort and a quiet, almost apologetic, disapproval. No one spoke up for me. No one invited me in. The warmth from inside the house, the scent of cinnamon and roasted turkey, seemed to dissipate, replaced by the biting cold of the night. "But Grandma always said Christmas was for everyone," I whispered, my voice thick with unshed tears. "She wouldn't have wanted this." Jessica scoffed, crossing her arms. "Grandma isn't here anymore, Sarah. And frankly, we're all tired of the drama. Just go home." The words hung in the air, cold and final. My sister, my own flesh and blood, was actively excluding me from the one day of the year meant for togetherness. The laughter from inside the house seemed to grow louder, mocking me. I felt a profound sense of betrayal, a deep ache that went beyond the sting of rejection. It was the realization that the family I had always yearned to belong to had unequivocally shut me out. My grandmother's passing had not brought us closer. It had merely exposed the chasm that had always existed. With a silent nod, unable to speak past the lump in my throat, I turned and walked away, the festive lights blurring through my tears, leaving the warmth and laughter behind in the biting winter night. The silence of the street was deafening, a stark contrast to the joyful clamor I had just left. Chapter 2. A faded photograph and a hidden truth. The days after Christmas were a blur of quiet despair. The holiday season, usually a time of joy, felt like an extended period of mourning for a family I was losing, piece by painful piece. I spent most of my time alone in my small, somewhat cluttered apartment, the silence amplifying my feelings of isolation. The sting of Jessica's words, the dismissive laugh, and the complicity of the rest of my family replayed endlessly in my mind. Why? Why was I always the outsider, the one deemed too much or not enough? My grandmother, bless her soul, had been the only one who truly saw me, who understood my quiet nature and my longing for connection. She had been my confidant, my anchor. After her passing, I had inherited a few boxes of her belongings, mostly old books and trinkets. things no one else in the family seemed to care about. I hadn't gone through them properly, too consumed by grief and the subsequent family estrangement. One dreary afternoon, seeking a distraction from my own thoughts, I decided to finally sort through the boxes. Most of it was mundane. Old recipe cards, worn photo albums, letters from distant relatives. But as I reached the bottom of a dusty box, tucked beneath a stack of faded lace doilies, my fingers brushed against something unexpected. It was a small, intricately carved wooden box, one I'd never seen before. It felt heavy, solid. My heart quickened as I opened it. Inside, nestled on a bed of soft velvet, were a few items. A delicate silver locket I recognized as Grandma's, a pressed flower, and a folded piece of paper. The paper was old, its edges yellowed and brittle. As I carefully unfolded it, my eyes scanned the elegant cursive handwriting. It was a letter, dated years ago, addressed to me. My hands trembled as I read. Grandma's words, filled with love and a quiet wisdom, spoke of her concerns about the family, particularly the growing rift between Jessica and me. She expressed her disappointment in how I was often treated, and her desire to ensure my future was secure. Then, a specific paragraph caught my eye, making my breath hitch. My dearest Sarah, I know life can be unfair, and sometimes family can be the hardest challenge. I've made arrangements to ensure you are taken care of no matter what. You deserve peace and security. Look for the Maplewood deed. It's with Mr. Davies, my old lawyer. He has my instructions. This is for you, my love. A small piece of the stability you've always deserved. Maplewood deed? Mr. Davies? My mind reeled. Maplewood was the name of the old family summer cottage, a beloved property that had been in our family for generations. It was a place filled with cherished memories, a place Grandma adored. Everyone assumed it would pass jointly to Jessica and me, or perhaps to my aunt and uncle. But a deed specifically for me? And why was it with a lawyer, not among Grandma's other legal papers that Jessica had handled after her death? A cold wave of realization washed over me. Jessica had been the executor of Grandma's will. Had she known about this? Had she hidden it? The thought was sickening, but it explained so much. The dismissive laugh, the immediate exclusion, the underlying tension. It wasn't just about family drama, it was about something far more tangible, something they might have tried to keep from me. A flicker of anger, cold and steady, began to replace the despair. This wasn't just about my feelings anymore. This was about my grandmother's last wishes, her final act of love and protection, potentially being disregarded or even deliberately concealed. I had to investigate. I had to find Mr. Davies. This faded letter, this hidden deed, was not just a piece of paper. It was my chance to reclaim not just a property, but my voice, my dignity, and my place in a legacy I was being denied. The silence of my apartment no longer felt empty. It felt charged with a new purpose. Chapter 3. The Unveiling. Finding Mr. Davies wasn't easy. He was an elderly, semi-retired lawyer, and his office was tucked away in a quiet, unassuming building downtown. It took several phone calls and a bit of persistence, but I finally secured an appointment. The anticipation gnawed at me, a mix of fear and a growing resolve. What if the letter was a misunderstanding? What if the deed wasn't what I thought? When I finally sat across from Mr. Davies in his cluttered, old-fashioned office, he listened patiently as I explained my situation, presenting Grandma's letter. His eyes, kind and knowing, seemed to hold a hint of sadness. "Ah, Eleanor," he murmured, referring to my grandmother. "She was a wise woman, and very particular about her wishes." He then confirmed my suspicions. My grandmother, foreseeing potential conflicts and wanting to ensure my financial stability, had indeed drawn up a separate, legally binding document. It transferred the full ownership of the Maplewood cottage, along with a modest trust fund for its upkeep, directly to me, effective upon her passing. This was done outside the main will, which primarily dealt with other assets and was managed by Jessica as executor. Grandma had specifically instructed Mr. Davies to hold on to this deed and only release it to me, personally, at a later date, or if I came seeking answers. She had wanted to avoid immediate family friction, hoping time would heal wounds, but also ensuring my security if it didn't. The news hit me with a powerful mix of emotions: validation, relief, and a profound sadness for my grandmother's foresight. which stemmed from her understanding of my family's dynamics. But mostly, it ignited a quiet fury. Jessica had handled the main will. It was highly probable she had been aware of this separate arrangement, or at least had access to information that would have led her to it. Her deliberate exclusion of me at Christmas, her dismissive attitude, now seemed even more calculated, a desperate attempt to maintain control over the family narrative and perhaps its assets. I knew I couldn't let this stand, not just for the property, but for Grandma's memory and for my own sense of justice. I decided to act. I arranged a family meeting, ostensibly to discuss Grandma's legacy and to share some old photos I'd found. Jessica, my aunt, and my uncle arrived at my apartment, their expressions a mixture of wary curiosity and thinly veiled condescension. They probably expected me to beg for reconciliation, or perhaps to air old grievances. The atmosphere in my small living room was thick with unspoken tension. I started by showing them some old family photos, trying to keep my voice steady. They commented politely, but their impatience was palpable. Jessica, ever the dominant one, finally cut to the chase. "Sarah, if this is about Christmas, we've already discussed it. It's time to move on." She even let out that same dismissive laugh, a sound that grated on my nerves. My aunt nodded in agreement. "Yes, dear. Let's not dwell on the past." I took a deep breath, my heart pounding against my ribs. This was it. I reached for the envelope I had placed discreetly on the coffee table. "Actually," I said, my voice clear and firm, "this is about Grandma's legacy and her true wishes." I then slid the Maplewood deed across the table towards them. Jessica picked it up first, a look of annoyance on her face. Her eyes scanned the document, and as she registered the words, "Warranty Deed" and "Sole Grantee Sarah Miller," her face drained of all color. Her jaw dropped. She looked at me, then at the deed again, her eyes wide with disbelief. My aunt and uncle, seeing her reaction, leaned forward, their curiosity piqued. They took the document from Jessica, their expressions quickly mirroring hers as they read. The room, which had been buzzing with their impatient whispers and Jessica's condescending laughter, suddenly went utterly, completely silent. The only sound was the faint hum of the refrigerator in my kitchen. Jessica's mouth hung open, her previous amusement replaced by a stunned, almost horrified disbelief. My aunt gasped, and my uncle simply stared, his face a mask of shock. The silence was heavy, thick with the weight of revelation, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like I truly held the power in that room. Chapter 4. A New Foundation. The silence in the room stretched, thick and suffocating, punctuated only by the rapid thumping of my own heart. Jessica was the first to break it, her voice a strangled whisper. This can't be right. Maplewood? To you? It's impossible. Grandma would never..." My aunt, regaining her composure slightly, interjected. "But it's signed, and dated, and it's a warranty deed, not just a will. This is legally binding." Her voice was filled with a mixture of shock and a dawning understanding. My uncle, usually the calmest, looked at me with a bewildered expression. "Why didn't we know about this? Jessica, you were the executor." Jessica's face was a kaleidoscope of emotions, denial, anger, and finally, a flicker of something akin to shame. I didn't see anything about this. It wasn't in the main will. How could she do this behind our backs?" Her voice rose, betraying her panic. I met her gaze, my voice steady, devoid of the tremor that had once defined me. Grandma wanted to ensure I had security. She knew the family dynamics. She wanted to avoid exactly this kind of conflict, but she also wanted her wishes honored. Mr. Davies held on to it, as per her instructions. I explained how I found the letter, how I sought out the lawyer, leaving out the painful details of my Christmas exclusion, letting the deed speak for itself. The confrontation continued for a while, a tense exchange of accusations, denials, and stunned disbelief. They tried to argue, to find loopholes, to question my grandmother's sanity, but the legal document, confirmed by Mr. Davies, was irrefutable. Eventually, the anger in Jessica's eyes shifted to a grudging acceptance, tinged with resentment. My aunt and uncle, though clearly disappointed, seemed to grasp the gravity of the situation more quickly. perhaps realizing the depth of their own misjudgment. In the end, there was no grand apology from Jessica, no sudden embrace of sisterly love, but the power dynamic had irrevocably shifted. The deed was undeniable proof of my grandmother's trust in me and a stark reminder of the family's past dismissals. I didn't gloat. I didn't demand an apology. I simply stated my intention to honor Grandma's wishes and to take possession of the cottage. Over the next few months, the legal process was completed. The Maplewood Cottage, a place of so many bittersweet memories, officially became mine. It needed work, but it was a tangible symbol of my grandmother's enduring love and my own newfound independence. I decided to keep it, not as a weapon against my family, but as a sanctuary, a place where I could build a new foundation for my life. My relationship with my family, especially Jessica, remained strained. There were no grand reconciliations, but the silence that had fallen when I showed the deed had been more than just shock. It was a moment of truth, a reckoning. They had to confront the reality of my grandmother's true intentions and their own actions. I no longer sought their approval or their acceptance. I had found my own voice, my own strength, and my own place. I poured my energy into renovating the cottage, transforming it into a cozy, welcoming home. It was a physical manifestation of my healing and growth. I started a small online business, leveraging the administrative skills I had honed over the years, finding success and financial stability on my own terms. I built new friendships, forming a chosen family that valued me for who I was, not for what I could provide or what legacy I represented. The Christmas exclusion had been a painful turning point, a moment of profound loneliness, but it had also been the catalyst that forced me to uncover a hidden truth, to stand up for myself, and to ultimately build a life rooted in self-worth and genuine connection. My grandmother's legacy wasn't just the cottage. It was the lesson that true belonging comes from within, and that sometimes the greatest acts of love are revealed in the quietest, most unexpected ways, leaving a lasting impact that truly leaves everyone speechless.